Hi there, adventurers and hard workers. Today we're going to be taking a look at Bulldog Winch's 60-piece emergency tire repair kit. This kit's going to be great to keep in your vehicle, but here at eTrailer we also know that you have tires on things other than just your vehicle. You've got your trailers, your boats, your campers, and everything else, and this kit's going to work with those as well. Because you don't want to be on your outing and then have a flat tire and then just be stuck there. Why ruin your trip when you have something that you can easily fix yourself and be back on the road and enjoying yourself in no time? So if you were loading your boat into the dock or unloading it, and you got a hook or a fishing lure in there, and it starts to leak, we can repair it with this kit here. And likewise, if you're leaving the campsite and you happen to pick up a nail or a screw, we're also going to be able to fix these as well. And it's also going to be great for your vehicles as well. We've got a customer here who's got a nail in his tire. Now, unfortunately for this customer, this one is not going to be repairable, and we're going to explain why. But we're also going to show you how to identify where the leak is, because this one's obvious because we can see the nail head, but sometimes that nail head breaks off and it's just the shaft down in there, and it's rubber, and it can kind of close up the gap. Air still leaks out, but you really can't see where it's coming from. That's where just a little bit of soapy water comes into play. You can just use some dish soap at home and some water in a spray bottle. And you'll want to just spray your whole tire. Now we're just going to show you right here because we know where the leak is on this one. But if you don't know where it is, just spray the whole thing. And what you want to look for is reoccurring bubbles. And if we take a look right here, we can see the bubbles are starting to come out, and they just keep continuing to produce. And that's what you want to look for a slow leak like this. You're going to see something just like this after you spray. So just take your time spinning your tire around. We jacked it up and put a jack stand on this one side. If it's a rear tire and you got a front wheel drive vehicle, you can jack up just the one side to be able to spin it to check for the leaks. You could also just remove the tire if you find that's easier, if you know which tire is the one that's leaking. And it's easy to tell which one is leaking because that's the one you're going to have to continually add air to that gets low. Now, I was talking about how this one's not repairable, and we call it the rule of thumb here. Your thumb, if you see the sidewall here right at the edge of your tread, if you place your thumb on that tread, anything on the inside here all the way to this corner, rule of thumb applies on this side as well. Anything between this area is going to be a repairable area that you can get repaired. Anywhere that's in the area of your thumb and on the sidewall here is not going to be repairable. And that's due to as your tire spins around when you're driving it, every time it gets down here towards the pavement, the sidewall is going to squish, and then it's going to open back up every single time. So whenever this here gets down to the bottom, it's going to squish, and then it's going to open, it's going to squish, and it's going to open, and that plug is likely going to work itself out. It can cause weakness here too, because we're going to have to ream this out in order to put our plug in, and the sidewall is one of the weakest parts of your tire, because the tread part here has got reinforcement, it's got the cords inside and everything else to make it nice, strong, and durable, but our sidewall here is much thinner than what the rest of the tire is, so we don't want to mess with the structural integrity of it. So unfortunately with this one, this customer just needs to get to a repair shop so that they can get their tire replaced. So I do have a small trailer tire here. Now this one's pretty worn out. I wouldn't recommend putting this one back on there unless it was just an emergency to get you back. But it does have a nail in it there, and we can patch this one since it's in that repairable area. We're going to first cover a few things that you do get in the kit. You're going to get 40 plugs as part of your kit. You'll get your reamer for cleaning out the hole. And you'll get your plug tool. This is what's going to use to put the plug in. You'll also get an additional stem for it, so if this one happens to wear out or you bend it or something happens, you can replace this one as well. You'll receive a tire pressure gauge so you can check the pressure in all of your tires, and once you've made the repair, get it back up to the manufacturer's recommendations. We have a pair of needle nose pliers with built-in snips inside of there, so we can do a little bit of cutting if we need to, and we can use this to get any nail and debris out of our tire. There's also a small bladed tool here that is going to let us trim off the excess plug once we've made the repair. There's this little kit that we have right here, and this has just got some additional valve cores, valve caps, as well as a valve core removal tool. And there are Allen keys in here for the set screw so you can replace that stem that we talked about earlier. And lastly, you do get a tub of lubricant here. This is going to make it easier to use the reamer to clean out the hole. So we do have a tire here that's been punctured. We're going to remove the object from it. We can use the needle nose to do so. So we're just going to grab those and just pull on it, because this way we can do everything. The entire repair can be done with the tools that come in our kit. Since this one's a screw, you can actually unthread it some, but if you can get those just started under there, then you can start working it out. And we can hear it starting to leak here as we pull it out. Now, when we go to put the plug in, it's often beneficial to have some air in the tire because it's going to want to collapse when you try to put the plug in, and that's going to make it a little more difficult. So if you do have a small air compressor or something on hand, that's also nice too to make things a little bit easier on you. In most cases, it's also easier to do this when it's on the trailer, especially if it's got some kind of brake. You can maybe pull the breakaway pin or set your parking brake or something to hold it in place once you've got it in an easy working position. We're going to be using the wall here though to help us since we've got it off the trailer. So before I pull it all the way out, I'm just going to kind of get my tools ready here. So I got the reamer in my hand. We're going to yank this out, and then I'm going to push it against the wall, and I'm going to start reaming it. I'm also going to put a little bit of the lubricant on the reamer before I finish pulling it out, because I want to try to save some of the air that's in there so I don't have to put more air in it when I go to put the plug in. So we're just going to get that nice and saturated there. Get it up against the wall so I've got some support. We're going to pop this guy out of here, and then we're going to ream it. And this is going to increase the hole to the proper size for our plug to insert easily without damaging the plug, but also not be too large to the point where the plug won't seal it up. So I'm going to leave the reamer in there like that to help preserve some of that air pressure. We're then going to take our plugs here. We're going to grab just one of them out of there. And this is some pretty sticky stuff. Doesn't usually get too much on your hands, it's just kind of really goopy. So now that we've got this, I actually like to use just a tiny bit of the lubricant too. Super glue also works really well, but we've got this lubricant here that comes in our kit, so we might as well use it. This is just going to make it slide in a little bit easier, and it's still going to seal up. We're going to feed it through the small hole here. Once you get it started, you can even grab it with the pliers that come in your kit to get it fed through. It's always usually difficult to get it through the hole. That's pretty common on these because everything does need to be very tight. That's the whole kind of purpose of this, is to seal up so air can't leak out. So now that we've got it started, we're going to pull it all the way through until we get about midway. These are going to fold back like this. And this is a pretty neat plug insertion tool. I've used quite a few before, and it's got this little thing on here. And at first I was like, well, what is this for? Is this a slide hammer? I didn't quite understand it, but now that I'm looking at it, this is a knuckle protector. Most of them don't have it. And when you go to put this in, it takes a lot of force to insert the plug into there, and oftentimes your knuckles then slam up against the tire, and sometimes it doesn't feel very good. With this guy here, this is going to hit the tire before our hand does, saving your knuckles. So that's a pretty cool little design there. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to yank this out of here, and then we're going to put that in as quickly as possible while we still got that pressure giving us some resistance to be able to fight against. And it is going to take some effort here. So this is normal. That's why having that brake set or on the trailer works really well. Once you've got it in there, you do want to leave some excess sticking out. So we're going to put it probably about right like that. There's plenty down inside there. And then we just pull this back out, and our plug has been inserted at this point. So what we can do now is we can take our razor tool that comes included with our kit, and we're just going to shave off the excess here. I like to leave just a little bit. I don't ever like to go perfectly flush with it, because as you drive down the road, it's going to smash it down in there, and more often than not, you're going to have some tread on your tire, unlike this one here. So it'll work itself down in between the tread, and that'll just prevent it from pushing all the way back in. Now that we got the plug in, I went ahead and went into the shop and I aired it back up to the specifications for the trailer, about 35 PSI. So we're gonna just double check here with the one that comes in our kit. We're at maybe about 33 there, so we're real close to that. That's close enough to where it's supposed to be for us to verify that we don't have any leaks here. So we're gonna go ahead and spray our plug now. And we're gonna be looking for that reoccurring bubbles just like we did before. And you don't want bubbles like this that came out from the spray. See how that's just a bubble that's not moving? We're looking for bubbles like the ones that we saw before on the other vehicle where they were continually repeating, and they're often very small bubbles in most cases. So as you can see, we've got no bubbles here, so this tire would be ready to return to service if it had a little bit of tread on it. We're going to go ahead and retire this one though, due to the lack of tread. Now we're also going to give you another example here on this tire. If you spray it all over and you don't find any leaks, there are a couple other places to look. You can look on your bead here. Now unfortunately, if you do find a leak around the bead when you're spraying around it like this, you're going to have to go to a repair shop, or you're going to have to take the tire off yourself to clean the bead and then reseal it and reinstall it. It's extremely difficult to do at home, so I'd recommend a repair shop for that. But what we can fix with our kit here is valve stem leaks if it's coming from our valve core there. So we're just going to spray inside there, and you can see that our valve core is leaking. Now this can happen from a few different things. See how the bubbles are coming out of there? This could happen maybe because your valve core just worked itself loose. Our tool here in our kit, we can just go in there and we can snug our valve core back up with it. And in this case, it fixed the leak that we had. But you do also get some valve cores with your kit, so if you were to snug it back up and you still had a leak from in there, it might just be a bad core. And the tool here this end, the two little ears fit down in there, and they will allow you to unscrew the valve core that's in there, and then you can also use it to tighten it back down. So we could easily replace it. This one wasn't leaking after we tested it there and tightened it up, so we're not going to be using the new ones. The cap was missing. It's a good idea to keep a valve cap on all of your valve stems because dirt and debris can get down in there, and that's usually what causes the seals to go bad when you're airing them up and whatnot. Dirt and debris gets in there and it starts to damage and deteriorate those seals, which can cause leaks. Got a couple other prongs on here. These are mainly for relieving air out of the tire. So if you need to let some out, you could easily do so. And that completes our look at Bulldog Winch's 60-piece emergency tire repair kit.